If your Trustpilot rating is hurting your business, this video is for you. Trustpilot is actually one of the most complex platforms to manage, and most businesses that try it themselves usually end up failing. I'm going to break down exactly how it works, what you can do, and what you should leave to the professionals. So first, why is Trustpilot one of the hardest platforms to manage? Trustpilot isn't like other review platforms. The rules are strict, the policies are complex, and at the end of the day, Trustpilot has the final say on what stays and what gets removed. There's no insider, there's no shortcuts, and there's certainly no magic trick here. It's their content integrity team, and they decide whether a review is genuine, defamatory, whether it contains personal information, and whether it stays up or comes down. And the reason that most businesses try this themselves and end up failing is simply because they don't have enough volume or experience. Now, we've raised thousands of cases to the Trustpilot integrity team, and a business doing it on their own might only have 5 or 6 throughout the year. And so that gap is really what's going to create those two different outcomes. How does flagging actually work? If you've claimed your Trustpilot profile, you do actually have the ability to flag reviews yourself. And there's a few ways to go about this, but the first would be to flag reviews based on sharing personal information. If it contains details that shouldn't be in the review, that shouldn't be publicly shared, so maybe there were details disclosed in an NDA that you had signed with the client, or something explicitly stated that they cannot share publicly. And you can actually redirect a review to another profile on Trustpilot if it has nothing to do with yours and it's simply a mix-up. And you can also flag for defamation or for not being a genuine experience. And so all in all, these are pretty much going to be the main routes that are available to you specifically as a business owner. But here's something that most people don't realize. If you flag a review yourself and Trustpilot rejects it, it becomes significantly harder for a professional or for a firm to come in and try and reflag that review for removal. You've essentially used up your shot, and think of it as, I don't know, we'll use basketball terms here. You go to the line, free throw, you've got 2 shots. Well, you used up that first one. And there's no guarantee that that second one's going to be successful. And before I dive a little bit deeper into that, I'm going to pull up a Trustpilot profile to show you what an unclaimed profile looks like. So you'll see here that the banner says unclaimed profile, and this will immediately tell us that this profile has not been claimed. Therefore, you won't be able to flag any reviews to the integrity team. So claiming that profile is really going to be the first step before anything. Now, here's why businesses fail when they try to do it themselves. And it comes down to 2 things, volume and experience. Trustpilot's policies are quite detailed, and the difference between a case that gets accepted and one that gets rejected often comes down to the arguments, how it's framed, what evidence is provided, and if the argument even aligns with their specific content guidelines. We've studied those policies inside out, and we know which cases have a strong shot at being successful and those that don't before we even start the process. And no offense here, but a business owner doing this for the first time is essentially playing the guessing game, and every failed attempt makes it that much harder for professionals to come in, or ourselves or other firms, to try and flag those reviews as well, build up the case, and get them removed. And then just beyond that, we've come across almost every single possible scenario for Trustpilot reviews, so we understand the complexity of various cases. And that experience is almost impossible to replicate with someone just flagging 5 to 6 reviews every year. Now, what does a professional removal service actually do that's different? The biggest difference is that we actually don't need access to your Trustpilot profile. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of business owners assume that we need to get logged into their account, we need to manage things internally, flagging, etc. And we actually don't. We build the case, we submit it, and we handle the entire process with Trustpilot's integrity team directly. And the way we structure payments actually reflects our confidence in the outcomes and the processes that we undergo. In other words, you only pay for reviews that we remove. We never charge for any upfront fees, subscriptions, recurring fees, or work that's never been finished or successful. Every review gets its own case. We never batch them together, group them together, and send it all off in one argument. Each one is argued individually and based on its specific reason on why it violates Trustpilot's guidelines. And that level of detail is exactly what drives the success rates. Now, removal alone isn't enough. You can remove every negative 1-star review, 2-star reviews from your Trustpilot profile. But if you're not actually actively adding more positive reviews to your profile, the rating isn't going to change much, if at all. So removal and reputation have to go hand in hand. And we never add fake reviews. What we do instead is put a compliant system in place that reaches out to your actual customer base and makes it easy for them to leave a review. And that system runs alongside the removal work So your rating is climbing from both directions at the exact time. Now, here's something super important you need to understand about Trustpilot's invitation system. Now, if you invite a customer using Trustpilot's review invitation system and that review is negative, it's now verified. The bad news is we cannot remove verified reviews. You can't raise a case on it, you can't flag it, you can't challenge it, none of that. It's permanent and it's there for good. So I would just say be very careful about who you decide to send out those invitations to if you are in fact using Trustpilot's invitation system there. And now I want to share with you guys another example as well with another profile here about what that would look like for a warning banner. And it'll say right here, warning. So instantly we can tell right off the bat that this Trustpilot profile is under a warning. And it'll say here, breach of guidelines, that we've removed a number of fake reviews for this company. And essentially this is what happens when businesses try to cut corners, go about doing things their way, trying to take shortcuts, flagging it themselves, flagging it multiple times incorrectly. More than likely you'll end up with this warning banner and things will just not play out well for you. And then one last thing worth knowing for companies that are no longer in business, maybe you've shut down, you've migrated into another business, another venture. We also offer a service to completely de-index your Trustpilot profile from Google. And so what that looks like is going in and actually shutting down the Trustpilot profile. And then we're able to de-index it from Google. And simply put, that's just removing it from Google search results so that no one can see it when they search your branded keywords. So if the business is closed and the profile is doing nothing but sharing outdated, negative, old reviews, de-indexing is just going to be your fastest and really your cleanest solution there. And let me show you guys what that looks like with another profile here. This is a claimed profile, but as you can tell, it's been shut down. It says here, thanks for visiting Trustpilot. Unfortunately, it's not possible to leave a review here anymore because the company's website has closed. And so this is what a shutdown profile is going to look like. And I'm sure you've come across quite a few of these. I myself have. It can be for various reasons, but the most predominant one is if the company is shut down. And really that's going to be the overview on how to remove Trustpilot reviews. Again, you can try yourselves, but the reason why most businesses fail is because they do try themselves and they don't have the experience or volume to know what works, what doesn't work, what's going to hurt them in the long run. You could potentially get some kind of warning banner on your profile and even get the entire profile shut down, and then you are worse off. So note to self, flagging reviews before you know what you're doing is usually not going to end up well for you. I recommend just leaving it to the professionals. We've taken down thousands of Trustpilot reviews. We'd be happy to take a look at your Trustpilot profile. I'll drop a link in the description there if that's something you're curious about. So get with a firm or professionals that know what they're doing, understands Trustpilot's policies, and only charges when the work has been complete. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around and watching the whole video. I hope it was informational and actually helped you out. And if you guys liked it, go ahead, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one.